Welcome back to Breakdown, March 4th, 2024. JJ,
Dad,
it's March.
madness has arrived.
The madness. You want to break it down? Big Ten, SEC?
It's time.
It's past due time. JJ, 2 games left, basically, for most of the teams. 2 games left before the conference tournament begins.
Yeah.
Let's talk the teams that we think are in, the teams that we think are on the bubble, and then do a little breakdown from there. What about the teams that are in from, who you want to start with? SEC, Big Ten.
Dealer's choice. Who you want to go with?
Let's do the Big Ten.
Big Ten it is.
The bigger they are, the bigger they are. JJ, Purdue has the potential player of the year candidate.
Oh,
Zach
no,
Edey.
he's not the candidate. He is going to be the first 2-time player of the year since Ralph Sampson.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
the Big Ten have him. That means Purdue. Let's talk Purdue.
Let's talk about him.
Their lock,
They're alive for what?
the 1 seed,
Overall number one or just A1 seed?
A1 seed.
Yeah, there's 4 of them. There are 3 lacks for that.
Okay, what are the
Connecticut, Houston,
and Purdue?
and Purdue.
Okay. I agree with you. How good is Purdue, JJ? Can they potentially win it all?
They could. I mean, they could do what Virginia did, becoming the second team to lose to a 16 seed one season, and then
The next season.
the next season bounce back and win the entire thing. It's that wide open of a year. They absolutely could. To me, I've always said it comes down to how they choose to officiate Zach Edey. He's, the hardest guy to officiate since Shaq. He's just a lot bigger than most human beings are. So it's just tough to, it's just really tough to officiate him. And
Yeah.
the Big Ten, officiates him a specific way that has been beneficial to Purdue. And then the NCAA tournament, they have not had the same type of success with the refs and the same type of whistle, in my opinion. So I do think that they still have the same vulnerabilities that led to them losing to Fairleigh Dickinson and then previous years before that. But they could absolutely win it all too.
Purdue is a lock. We will, once the selection is made, we will do a more in-depth analysis. But JJ, does Purdue have a weakness right now?
Oh yeah. Yeah, perimeter defense is their weakness. And honestly, they still don't have the type of guards that can consistently, reliably penetrate.
Okay. Who are some other Big Ten locks for the tournament?
Illinois is absolutely a lock. They're
Okay.
a top 4 seed, I think, right now.
Okay, they're number 12 in the nation right now. They're, 22-7. Are there any other locks for the Big Ten?
Wisconsin has been on a free fall,
To say the least.
but even with that said, they still have the resume early on enough in the season that they did enough early on that they will absolutely still get in. And the rest of that field is so saturated, and I don't know.
Yeah, they're 2-7 in their last 9 games.
Yeah, and that is an indictment on the rest of the country, but yeah.
Okay.
They are solidly in. Jay Palm has them as a top 6 seed currently still in his CBS bracketology. I think that might be a little ambitious. I think they're still a top 8 seed. I think they're safely in the tournament. But
Okay. So our locks, so your locks so far has been Purdue, Illinois, Wisconsin.
those are absolutely locks.
Any other locks?
I don't think there are any other locks. I think a lock is a team that could lose the rest of their games and still make
The
it.
next 3?
Yeah.
You contemplate
The
conference
tournament. I don't think that there are necessarily any other locks in the Big Ten, but I do think Nebraska is as close as it gets to being a lock. I mean, they've played incredibly well on home. They sustained a massive win this past weekend. I think Nebraska is pretty close to a lock.
What about, and this is something that's going to shock a lot of people. What about Northwestern?
Northwestern, they're third in the conference in the standings?
Yes, they're third. They're 20-19 overall, 11-7 in the conference.
I think it depends on how they lose. I mean, I think if they were to lose out they were to lose to Michigan State, and Michigan State did what they did to Baylor against Northwestern, I think that could be influential.
Well, they come to Michigan State Wednesday.
They do come to Michigan State Wednesday.
And then Minnesota is at Northwestern on Saturday.
Yeah. I don't think that they will lose out. I think they beat Minnesota for sure. I think they probably, Michigan State needs to beat Northwestern, to speak of another team on the bubble. But I think unless Northwestern lost badly to Minnesota and badly to Michigan State, I think that they're probably safely in as well.
Okay, so you got 3.5 locks. Let's talk about the Big Ten bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
I want to start out with my favorite Big Ten school, Michigan State.
Michigan State.
Tell me why they're a bubble team.
They're a bubble team because they have a 17-12 record.
9-9 in the conference.
Yeah. They have a pretty decent quad 1 record. They don't have any bad losses. They beat Baylor by about 1 million. So, and they have a net ranking of 22 in the country still.
That amazes me.
Yeah.
I'm lost for words when you speak their net rating.
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
Yeah. So, and Tom Izzo is the longest tenured coach to make the NCAA tournament. I think they're going to want to keep that streak alive. I don't think they're going to want to. If it's a tie, they say tie, give it to the runner. I think if it's close, MSU will get the advantage just because of Izzo. Frankly, it's a product that sells tickets. Izzo's a name that people recognize.
Once this season is over, or once Michigan State is out, you're not going to talk about Mr. Coach Tom Izzo. The future. But JJ, Indiana's a bubble team. Indiana is 16-13.
Yeah, Indiana and Ohio State are interesting cases. They could play their way onto the bubble. I don't think I really have them in as of now.
Okay.
But they have the talent to play.
You mentioned Ohio State. Well, JJ, let me go back. Let me just ask you: how many Big Ten teams are going to get into the tournament in your mind? If you had to guess, and I know there's still at least a minimum of 3 games left, but if you had to guess, how many teams would still get in? Would you have Ohio State, Indiana, Minnesota, Iowa?
Iowa, yeah. I would not have Minnesota, no.
Okay.
Not at all. I would have Iowa on the bubble. That's a team that we didn't talk about, but there's a few locks with Nebraska making it 4, and then I would say the Big Ten gets 6 to 7 teams in.
Okay.
What do you say?
When I was younger, JJ, Big Ten, when I say young, I mean 4 or 5 years ago, Big Ten was routinely getting 8, 9, maybe 10. The talk of 10. Things have changed.
Things have changed.
I've gotten older.
Yeah.
And they're talking now, instead of 9 and 10, 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Such is the world. But the Big Ten won it all in football. I just wanted to throw that in real quick. I'm going to say Purdue, Illinois, Nebraska locks, plus 4 to 5 additional ones. So I'm going to say 7 to 8, like as you said.
Yeah, I think the rest of the country, it's a very wide open year. I think there's a lot of teams that could win the whole thing, and I think because of that, I think some mediocre Big Ten teams are going to get in as some 9-10 seeds, honestly.
Can we talk SEC now?
Yeah, we're a Big Ten SEC conference. I think we talked enough about the Big Ten. Let's move it over to the SEC.
Locks for the SEC. Should be a lot of them.
Oh, yeah, there's a few.
There's one humongous team missing from that lock, but go ahead. Let's name those locks. Those teams that are locks.
Ooh, I would say Florida's a lock.
Now they are.
I would say Mississippi State is a lock.
Ooh.
Yeah,
okay.
I would say that they're a lock.
Okay.
And then, of course, the ranked teams. I would say all of those are a lock. South Carolina,
and there are
Alabama,
5 of those.
Auburn, Kentucky and Tennessee.
Yeah. Okay, so you got 7 locks in.
I do.
Bubble? Bubble.
Ole Miss is a pretty substantial bubble team for the SEC. They have a net ranking of 78.
They're 20-9 in their record.
Yeah,
that's not a bad record.
All 9 losses are SEC games, so they have good. They have not good quality losses, but they don't have any losses to Wright State or any type of thing like that. It's all SEC teams.
So they're a bubble team, though.
They are a bubble team
because they're 7-9 in the conference.
They are 7-9. They are under. They can't do anything but get to mediocre. They can't have a winning record in the conference.
Okay, right. Which is a better conference, JJ? Still some. It doesn't matter though. But which conference is better from top to bottom? And then which conference is better at the top?
That's a good question. From top to bottom, I think the SEC might be better from top to bottom.
This is the first year in the last 20 years that's been the case?
Maybe not the first and last 20 years, but that is pretty rare. I do think that there's been made about how people think that the SEC and the Big Ten will, going forward, have a lot more tournament teams because they're going to have a lot more money and a lot more resources at their disposal. And they're going to have money to throw at basketball. And I think that it's going to come at the expense of the ACC because if you look at the Big 12, the Big East, they seem to be in pretty. They're really committed to basketball. They're in lockstep. The ACC is going to, for the 3rd year in a row, get 5 teams or less into the tournament. 5 teams exactly, probably.
I am super high on the Big 12.
As you should be.
I mean, even the newer members that's coming in.
Well, the number 1 team in the country is a new member that came in. They clinched. Did they not clinch the Big 12? Did they win it?
I don't know, but I think they may have.
Okay, at least I think they might.
But the ones that are coming in next year, well, actually in August of this year.
You're talking about Arizona.
I'm talking about SMU. SMU is nowhere this year, but give them 2 years. They got money like you would not believe.
Okay.
They got money like you wouldn't believe, SMU.
Well, I kind of started to believe that once I saw what they were willing to do to get in the ACC. And once I saw what they were willing to do to get in the ACC, I learned that they absolutely have some oil money. They don't have Texas A&M money. They don't have Texas money, but they have they pretty close.
Exactly. So I'm really high. I'm really high on the Big 12. But back to the SEC, JJ.
Yeah.
You said this year they may be better top to bottom. At the upper echelon, the top 2 teams, Purdue and Illinois, are they better than the top 2 teams in the SEC? Obviously, you're going to say Purdue is.
Who's the second best team in the SEC?
That's a good question because they're all about equal, if you ask me. But Kentucky could be.
They could be, but they are not in second place. I think they're in 5th place in the conference standings. But they are incredibly young, and they did have some health issues that might have cleared themselves up. So, yeah, Kentucky might be the second best team.
So, Alabama and South Carolina tied for second in the SEC. Are either of those teams better than Illinois?
I'm partial. I think I like Illinois a lot.
Okay.
I like their inside-outside matchup. Big number 33 on the inside for them, and Terrence Shannon on the outside. But I will say Alabama. I mean, I think their 3 deep is better than the Big Ten's 3 deep for sure. Okay. But I would take the Big Ten's 2 teams. Okay. But how good is Tennessee? Is Tennessee a 1 seed? They're ranked 4th in the country right now. They have a net ranking of 5.
Talk about Tennessee's history in the tournament, JJ.
They've never been a number 1 seed before.
Aside from that, how have they performed in the last?
They've never made a Final Four.
That's what I'm talking about. The Tennessee's history scared me. I will say this though, Tennessee is making me think that they are a lot better than I thought they were. I watched them play a little bit.
They have the runner-up for the Player of the Year. I mean, I think Zach Edey would probably be the unanimous Player of the Year, but Dalton Connect, he's a great story out of Colorado. He's going to be
Very good.
He's
Very
going to be the
impressive.
SEC Player of the Year, and he's going to be probably unanimous All-American, first-team All-American.
I agree. Tennessee, if I ignore their history, I would say Tennessee is a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous team. But if I look at their history, I'd say don't pack for more than one weekend, Tennessee.
Well, what does Rick Barnes care about your history? He's been to a Final Four.
Oh, okay, not at Tennessee.
No. TJ Ford might be walking through that door. We don't know. We don't know.
Not at Tennessee.
But we remember who they beat to make to that Final Four, that specific Final Four that Rick Barnes made. You remember that?
They beat Arkansas?
No. Not Arkansas.
What did they beat?
A team less than 15 miles from this very spot.
Oh, man.
Paul Davis.
They beat Michigan State.
They beat Michigan State in the Elite Eight. It was a close one.
Okay.
But TJ Ford and company got it done.
Well, I'll just say this, man. Tennessee, if I ignore their history, I'm going to count on them doing a lot of damage in the tournament. But if I start looking at their history, I'm going to say don't pack.
I don't think Dalton Connect cares for your history. I think he cares for your history as much as Chris Bryant and those guys care for the Cubs' history. Okay. I think...
So the bubble team for the SEC, Mr. Jackson.
We already talked about Ole Miss.
Oh, that was the only bubble team.
I mean, do you have another one?
What about Arkansas? If they win the tournament, they can get in, JJ.
They would absolutely get in. Any team that wins any tournament in Division I gets into the tournament. So you're telling me there is still hope from an Arkansas Razorback? That's what I want. No.
You say no?
There is no hope for it.
Oh, man.
So, you know what your hope is? Your hope is in baseball season.
Hey, I'll take it. JJ, what else we want to talk about? I mean, we can talk about the women. Iowa,
yeah, they're...
And Ohio State, but specifically Iowa. With Clark being MVP of the women, announcing that she's going to the NCAA. You want to talk about her for a moment?
The WNBA?
The WNBA.
Yeah, so she has the all-time record for most points scored in the women's game. She already had that. She passed Pistol Pete for the most, regardless of gender. Obviously, Pistol Pete played in the era before the three-point line was existed, but he took enough three-pointers. They did the math. He took enough really, really bad shots back in the day. His dad was the coach at LSU, and he took 38 shots a game. He did that in 3 years. He shot like 44%. But had there been a three-point line, he would have put that record so far out of distance. Caitlin Clark wouldn't have been close to being able to get to that. However, that does not change the fact that in the women's game, she's the number one, and
she's turning pro.
She is turning pro.
Talk about that a little bit.
I know in women's college basketball is a lot more popular than the WNBA. On a domestic scale, on a global scale, the WNBA is so much more popular and so much more valuable to brands. And she's a Nike athlete, and Nike really, really wants her to go to the WNBA. She will make a lot more money from her sponsorships than she will make in the WNBA than she could make in NIL. And she could make millions of dollars in NIL at Iowa next year. The tickets for the game were $4,000.
Because of COVID, she does have another year available.
That's why it was such. Yes, she has played 4 years. She is a true senior. But because of COVID, the reason that they announced that she was going pro was because a lot of players are going to be coming back because of how lucrative their NIL deals can be at their university relative to what they could get as a brand ambassador.
WNBA.
But what she can do for Nike, I mean, they're going to make Breonna Stewart has a shoe. She has a signature sneaker for Puma. They are going to make a Caitlin Clark shoe before she steps foot on a court. Nike will, and it's going to sell. It's going to sell incredibly well. Everybody's daughter, everybody that has a daughter it's going to do incredibly well.
Every high school team will be looking to sport that shoe.
Oh, yeah.
Every player.
Yeah. It's going to be groundbreaking.
Girls basketball team, yeah.
And her childhood idol, Maya Moore, made it out to Iowa to show support for her in the game where she broke the record. And she, it made internet... It made the rounds and went viral. She said she was fangirling out because she thought that she was the GOAT. And we all know Maya Moore. She retired from the game early to pursue a criminal justice situation with her now husband. So it was just really cool to see that. You don't get to see.
Before we get out of here, you mentioned about. You started to mention. I don't know if you finished about the ticket prices for the game where she broke Pete Maravich's record. This is women's basketball. when I first came to Michigan State, JJ, you could go to women's basketball games for free. I mean, all I had to do was just walk in the gym for free to watch them. And even now, they're not that expensive. But for the game that Caitlin Clark played against Ohio State, where she broke the record, $400+ per ticket for a college girls basketball game.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State was the number 2 team in the country, and they had beat Iowa earlier in the year.
Yeah.
So that was some significance that did add to that, but it was a very special occasion, and the people in Iowa City recognized it.
Okay. JJ, do we got time for anything else? We want to put it off until next time.
That's about all for now. I mean, not much else to say. I mean, we had some combine stuff, but that's we can save that for a little bit later after basketball season is ended.
WPS America, Wolf Pig Suey. JJ, we done?
We're out of here.
Let's get out of here.